What if you could feel the ground tremble, see a city crumble, and still walk away unharmed? Yes, imagine this. It's a quiet, ordinary day until the ground begins to tremble. Lights flicker, water gushes from broken pipes, and a runaway truck barrels through a collapsing ceiling. Sounds terrifying, right? But this isn't real at all. This was the thrill of Universal Studios' Earthquake Ride, an experience that promised guests the chance to survive the chaos of a Hollywood-style disaster. Today, we're diving into the history of this legendary attraction, from its groundbreaking technology to its eventual demise. The Earthquake Ride left a lasting legacy in theme park history. Buckle up, this is going to be a wild ride. But first, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now back to the video. The year was 1974, and disaster movies were all the rage. Among them was Earthquake, a blockbuster that wowed audiences with its use of sense surround, a sound technology that added physical vibrations that literally shook theaters during key scenes, thereby creating a more immersive experience. Universal Studios saw an opportunity to bring this cinematic spectacle to life in their Orlando park, which opened in 1990. By the mid-1980s, Universal was deep into plans to expand their Hollywood studio tours into a full-fledged theme park on the East Coast. The concept for Universal Studios Florida was simple yet ambitious. It was to give guests a front-row seat to the magic of movie making. Unlike Disneyland's focus on whimsy and fantasy, Universal aimed to immerse visitors in the thrills, chills, and spectacle of Hollywood blockbusters. What better way to immerse guests in the movie-making process than by recreating the chaos of an earthquake? But recreating a natural disaster on a theme park scale was no small task. Universal had to find a way to simulate the chaos of a 7.6 magnitude earthquake, while keeping everything and everyone safe. The team consulted geologists and engineers to understand the mechanics of real earthquakes and translate them into a controlled environment. After years of development, Universal debuted Earthquake, the big one, inspired by the iconic scenes from the movie. The earthquake simulation was so realistic that many guests believed Universal had studied footage from real disasters. While the ride wasn't based on any specific event, its designers did take inspiration from the 1906 San Francisco earthquake, one of the deadliest in U.S. history. Earthquake wasn't just a ride. It was an immersive experience that blurred the lines between reality and illusion. It was a ride simulator that took the riders through a series of 3D effects and physical sensations that mimicked what would happen during an earthquake. Guests began their journey in a soundstage, where a live host explained how Hollywood creates disaster effects. Think of it as a crash course in movie magic, complete with pyrotechnics, stunt demonstrations, and an introduction to the technology behind the attraction. The main event took place on a replica of a San Francisco subway station. Guests were ushered into a subway train and strapped themselves onto the seats. As the train departed, guests were greeted by what seemed like an ordinary city scene, until trouble began. The tremors began. The hydraulic systems underneath the ride platform created realistic shakes, making guests feel like they were in the middle of a real earthquake. A series of carefully timed effects brought the scene to life. A section of the ceiling collapsed, water pipes burst, and a tanker truck exploded into flames. In the grand finale, the subway platform collapsed, plunging part of the set underwater as a massive flood rushed in. The ride used a mix of practical effects and cutting-edge technology to deliver a sensory overload. What made it truly remarkable was its attention to detail. For example, the cracks on the walls weren't just painted on. they expanded as the earthquake intensified, thanks to pneumatic systems embedded in the set. When the earthquake ride opened, it operated for only short periods of time during the first 4 months due to a series of operational problems, which resulted in Universal filing suit against the ride's manufacturer, Ride and Show Engineering Incorporated. But once operational, the lawsuit was dropped, and then it was an instant success. For many visitors, it was their first glimpse into the artistry of practical effects. Unlike roller coasters that relied on speed and height for thrills, Earthquake offered a more cinematic experience. Here's what sets it apart. First, the ride's ability to not just show guests a disaster, but make them feel like they were right in the middle of one. Secondly, the fact that the pre-show gave guests a behind-the-scene look at how Hollywood creates illusions, adding an educational twist to the fun. Thirdly, it helped with Universal's identity. How? Well, at a time when Disney dominated the theme park industry, the Earthquake ride helped Universal carve out its niche as the go-to destination for movie lovers. One of the ride's most memorable aspects was its use of real earthquake data. Designers consulted geologists to ensure the tremors felt authentic. This attention to detail didn't go unnoticed. Many guests walked away convinced they just survived the big one. Another fun aspect of the ride was that the subway station was packed with Easter eggs. For example, the arrival times on the schedule board were nods to significant dates in Universal's history. And if you looked closely, some of the graffiti on the walls included shoutouts to the ride's designers. As beloved as Earthquake was, its time at Universal Studios came to an end in September 2007. By the 2000s, audiences were gravitating towards attractions that provided faster thrills and flashier visuals. Practical effects, while impressive, started to feel dated compared to newer offerings like The Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man. Secondly, Earthquake wasn't just a marvel of engineering, it was also an expensive one. The ride's hydraulic systems, pyrotechnics, and water effects required constant upkeep to function smoothly. Every moving piece needed regular inspections and repairs, making it one of the more costly attractions to maintain. Universal realized that they could replace Earthquake with a more cost-effective attraction that appealed to a broader audience. Another factor in Earthquake's decline was the growing popularity of interactive attractions. Universal realized that audiences didn't just want to watch or feel the action, they wanted to be part of the story. This led to the creation of Disaster, a major motion picture ride starring you. This reimagined version of the ride incorporated humor and guest participation, and it also added a comedic twist, allowing guests to participate in filming a fake disaster movie. While fun, it didn't capture the same magic as the original. Lastly, theme park competition is fierce, and Universal had to keep innovating to compete with Disney. With Disney constantly rolling out new attractions, Universal couldn't afford to let older rides like Earthquake take up prime real estate. Retiring Earthquake allowed Universal to invest in fresh experiences that could hold their own against Disney's offerings. Also, Earthquake being tied to a 1974 movie that had long faded from public memory struggled to compete with modern franchises. By 2015, the space was transformed yet again, this time into Fast and Furious Supercharged, leveraging the global popularity of the Fast and Furious film series. While the new ride has its fans, many longtime Universal visitors feel nostalgic for the original's ride, practical effects, and intense atmosphere. There's something about feeling the ground shake beneath you and seeing real water flood a set that CGI can't replicate. Earthquake's closure marked the end of an era for Universal, a time when practical effects reigned supreme and storytelling didn't rely on big-name franchises. However, its legacy lives on in the hearts of those who experienced its seismic thrills. Even though the Earthquake ride's no longer with us, its legacy lives on. It set the stage for Universal's future attractions, proving that theme parks could deliver experiences that were as thrilling as they were educational. Take Universal's Transformers: The Ride 3D or Harry Potter and the Escape from Gringotts. Both owe a debt to Earthquake's groundbreaking use of practical effects and immersive storytelling. Also, if you're nostalgic for Earthquake, there's good news. A scaled-down version of the ride still exists as part of Universal Studios' Hollywood Studio Tour. While it's not as elaborate as the original, it offers a glimpse into what made the attraction so special. The Earthquake ride wasn't just an attraction. It was an adventure that made you feel like the star of your very own disaster movie. From its jaw-dropping effects to its rich attention to detail, it's no wonder this ride left a lasting impression on so many fans. Now, we want to hear from you. Did you ever experience Earthquake? Or did you think Universal should bring back the era of practical effects? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into theme park history.